If you were to ask me what my favorite game is, I will say without a second thought, Hollow Knight. In the past years, Hollow Knight have become one of the greatest indie game ever made, surpassing the majority of the AAA titles in terms of quality. When I finished my first playthrough, I was left with more questions than answers. I feel like I didn't even scratch the surface of this world. There was so much that I didn't understand. Who am I? What am I doing here? What happened to this place? Why is this guy named Elderbug even though he's one of the youngest characters? Who's that charming lady? Hey, don't run, come back. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh my god, I should have known. The hot ones are always crazy. One of the most shocking reveals for me and many other players was that you are not even the Hollow Knight. But all of this made the game more interesting. There was so much more to Hollow Knight that I could ever imagine at the time. The reason why so much hype around Silksong to the point that people have entire YouTube channels which are only about when the game will come out, Reddit threads, Twitter accounts, Discord servers, you name it, for over 4 years now. It's all because of his predecessor. This game has captured the attention of so many players and have become the inspiration for many indie developers. But what leads to this point? What made this game so awesome? What is the story behind all of this? And the most important question, is Hollow Knight truly a masterpiece? Well, prepare your nails and cloaks because we're about to descend into the world of Hallownest. The development of the game is pretty fascinating, how it started from this to this. Hollow Knight was brought to life mainly by those two guys, Ari Gibson and William Pellen. Before this, Ari worked only in animation projects and William made a few small games. The first project together was Hungry Knight, a game where you need to eat a cherry every 10 seconds and defeat 3 giant enemies. This game laid the foundation from what we have today. Hungry Knight was a failure at the time. It received 1 out of 5 stars, but that didn't stop Team Cherry. The real development started in 2014 at a game jam with the team Beneath the Surface. Ari was still interested in Hungry Knight and they came up with the idea of a ruined bug kingdom. Why bugs, you may ask? Well, because it's easier to animate it and it saved a lot of time and resources. They missed the deadline for the game jam though, but they still hold on to that project. Later that year they started a Kickstarter campaign and even though not all the stretch goals were funded, it was still a success. They planned to release the game in 2015 and it was supposed to be only around 3 hours long. But as you can see, they ended up wanting to do more than that. So the release date was delayed to 2017, but I guess we are kinda used to it now. The end result is much bigger than they initially planned, so let's see what they achieved. The gameplay of Hollow Knight is so simple but yet so effective. This game is a Metroidvania type, meaning you'll find more abilities and upgrades as you progress. The game starts with very simple and basic mechanics like walking, jumping, healing and attacking in 4 directions. The healing is pretty interesting and adds something new to the table. If you want to heal, you need to focus for a few seconds, but you cannot move in that time, leaving you open for an attack. And if you take damage in mid-healing, it will stop and the souls you spend will be lost, so you have to be careful with your timing because instead of healing, you'll end up taking even more damage, leading to an easy death. So it's even more punishing than your standard games. Other than this, at the start there will be not too much going on, but after some exploring you'll start to find new powers, like the Moth Wing Cloak, which allows you to dash into a direction, making enemy attacks a bit easier to dodge, but also makes the combat a bit faster. Then you get the Mantis Claw, which allows you to wall jump, then maybe you'll find the Nailsmith, who will upgrade your weapons, dealing more damage. With each new upgrade the combat will change as well, so you'll never get bored because there will always be something new on the table, and enemies come up with new things as well, forcing you to use your new powers. There is also a super dash, but that is used more for exploring rather than the combat, and a double jump, which makes it easier to maneuver your character in mid-air. In the game you can acquire 3 different spells and each one of them has an upgrade voidy version of it. One shoots left and right, one above you and one below you. What I like and find interesting about the spell is that in order to use them you have to spend souls, a substance that you collect each time you hit an enemy, and this substance is the same one you need for healing. So you'll need to make the active decision if you want to heal and play more safely, or if you want to go for the high DPS. Or you can do a combination of both. You can shoot once or twice with the spells and with the rest of the souls left you heal. The coolest thing about the souls meter is that it always have a purpose. Maybe you are not that good at the game, so most of the time you'll use it to heal, but if you are more of an experienced player and you are not hit that often, the souls you collect are not going to be wasted because you'll use it for spells. But if you think spells are for nerds and refuse to use them and the sword is the only thing you need and use, well, the game still got your back. There are 3 nail arts you can learn. One is a spinning attack and the other 2 are a slash forward attack. They don't cost anything to use, but you need to charge them, holding the attack, and once it's ready you release it and BAM! You deal a burst of damage stronger than your normal attacks, being very useful against enemies that don't give a lot of room for an attack. They are a bit tricky to pull off at first, but once you get the hang of it you'll be an absolute beast. My favorite upgrade in the game is the Shadow Dash that allows you to dash through enemies without taking damage. It sounds very cool, and it is, but the game sees it more like an opportunity to throw new enemies with attacks that wouldn't be possible to dodge without it. And it's not like you can spam it, it has a cooldown. So when you think life will become more easier, in reality it's not. Things just getting more complicated. Now let's talk a bit about the enemies. The enemy variety is extremely big in this game. There are over 100 types of enemies excluding bosses, and every one of them is designed to fit the area you encounter them. You'll never see, for example, a Mosskin in Deepness because that will make no sense. And the most of them have a different way to kill you. In this game there are 2 ways you can take damage: being hit by an enemy attack or being touched by an enemy. So you'll have enemies that will charge at you with their bodies or jump on top of you, and enemies who have weapons, shoot projectiles or summon other enemies. Then there are these beefy boys who deal 2 mass of damage, and they are quite tanky, so you'll have to be more careful when you deal with them. There are lots of creative ways to take damage in this game, like this bat who charges at you and explodes on impact, or this mushroom who shoots a projectile who does almost the same thing, or plants that blend well with the environment and strike you when you step on it. I appreciate when a game gets creative with the ways you can die. You never know what to expect from an enemy or a location. Speaking of dying, when you get killed you leave a shadow behind with all your money, like every Souls type game. But the twist is that this is not just a stain on the ground that you just touch and get everything back. No. In this game this is a part of you and you need to fight it and defeat it in order to get your stuff back. And the shadow can do whatever you do, like hitting with a nail or shooting spells. Now isn't that awesome? But if you think that nothing so far has given you a challenge and want more action, there is the Colosseum of Fools, where you'll be locked in an arena fighting multiple enemies in multiple waves, with platforms that shift around and spikes coming from the floor, and with a boss at the end. And if you still think that's not hard enough, you can access the God mode where you'll refight the bosses on multiple difficulties, and you have even multiple boss rushes mode. But Marushka, what if I am more of a casual player and want just a small adventure? Well my friend, that's exactly why this game is so good. There are tons of different ways to play it. You can finish the game without knowing the most of it. Nobody forces you to do anything, you are free here. Hollow Knight is made in a way to fit most players out there. Now, I left the best part of the gameplay at the end. The charm system. Throughout your journey you'll find these items called charms, and each one of them is unique and does something different. From the very simple ones who just shows your location on the map or spawn little flies that collects money for you, to the ones more powerful that increase your spell or nail damage or even your attack speed, to the very complex one that regenerates your life or allows you to shoot swords beams like an anime character. Hollow Knight doesn't have the 180 change in build like other RPG games, jumping from a sword to spell, but it still has a 90-degree change or even a bit more. You'll still use the core mechanics no matter what, but the charms bring so much variety of how you can do that, it's absolutely insane. There are a total of 45 charms and the only thing they require is charm slots. The weaker charms will require only one spot and the most powerful will require 4. But that's it, none of them is blocked by stats or anything like that, so as long as you have space, you can use any charm you want in every combination you want. There are so many combinations that lead to so many playstyles to fill everyone out there. It's truly genius. You can go with a build that spawns little allies to fight for you, or with a build which is based off increasing your defense or offense. And the game even encourages you to test and combine them because some of them synergize with each other. The shape of Anne allows you to move while healing and you look like a slug. But if you use it alongside Boulder Shell, who creates a shield when you heal, you'll be able to move and have a shield at the same time, and the character will change from a slug to a snail. And if you also use the Spore Shroom charm, mushrooms will appear on your shell, and many other combinations. It's so fun to try all of these out and I love them. But still, the Wayward Compass is the strongest charm, changed my mind. Another small thing that it blew my mind the first time I've seen it, it was the over charm mechanic. If you don't have enough space from another charm, like you have only one spot free but the charm needs 3, an animation that shows the charm doesn't fit will play and the charm will go back in the inventory. So one day I wanted to use a charm but it didn't fit, so out of frustration I spammed that charm into that spot. And after a few tries, it suddenly fits. And I was left there blown away, having no idea what was happening, and I was thinking that I just broke the game. Turns out that what I did was overcharm and now I was taking double damage. It was not worth it, but the simple fact that this had happened was utterly amazing, and it was one of the coolest moments that I experienced in a video game. The amount of ways you can play this game is absolutely insane, making it extremely replayable to go out and try new builds and strategies. Okay, now that we discussed the core gameplay of this game, it's time to talk about the main attraction, the bosses. As you progress through the game, learning new abilities and moves and becoming overall more powerful, so do the bosses. From just a fly who charges at you and hits the walls like a basketball, to Hornet who has a complex kit with different moves, up until a moth who can move swords with her mind like a Jedi or a vampire and shoot lasers beam. I'm a fire in my laser! The majority of the bosses are very unique and different from the previous one. Each one of them offers a new challenge. You never know what to expect when the fight starts. The game has bosses like Flukmarm, who summons small enemies at you constantly, or the Watcher Knights, where multiple knights will spawn throughout the fight, and if you are not fast enough, the next one will join the battle, and you'll be quickly overwhelmed. Similar to the 4 Kings from Dark Souls. The amount of pressure in this fight is beat only by 2 or 3 other bosses. Then you have all the spirits fights, who are pretty hard to deal with. They fly, and when they get hit, the knockback is so big that you'll not be able to get a lot of hits at once, and the fight will become more difficult as you progress. After a certain amount of damage, they will spawn more and more weapons, and the attack will become more frequent and fast. Nosk is another interesting boss, who has such an amazing build-up. You see yourself on the other side of the wall and you don't know what's happening, so naturally you go to investigate it, and then you witness the horror. The fight itself is a bit mediocre, but I will excuse it just because of the introduction. Umu is also a very unique boss that has a very thick shell that you cannot break it, so you'll need help in this fight. But my favorite boss fight in this game has to be the Mantis Lords. This fight comes out of nowhere and it's so perfect. When you get in the arena, the fight doesn't even start. You need to challenge the lords if you want to fight them. Hell, you can even skip the whole battle if you want. After you stop being a coward and decide to fight them, the arena will change to a cage with spikes at the both ends. You will first face just one of the lords, and she is so fast that you can only see her when she's about to strike you, constantly jumping off the screen after every attack, giving you very few windows to attack. And after you just started to get used to the movesets and defeat the first mantis, the other two will come simultaneously, leaving you no room to even breathe. The attacks are so fast and they come one after the other. They complement each other perfectly. And the best thing about the Mantis Lord is after you defeat them, the whole Mantis village will stop being hostile and they will bow to you, showing respect for defeating their masters. And that's what I call a cool and awesome boss design. But on a second thought, Zod the Mighty is still the best boss. The exploration and level design are my favorite things in this game. Every area feels like another world. They are so vastly different from each other. The Forgotten Crossroads gives off an abandoned small city vibe. The Green Path, who is filled with vegetation, bushes and nature all around. The Kingdom's Edge, where you'll think is snowing, but in reality this is skin from the big worm husk. The world around you is also very interactable. There is a sign there, you can probably break it. Same applies to statues, grass or anything you can find on the ground. If you just take a second to look at the screen, you'll find tons of details in every area. Small bugs in the background, giant corpses, structures, or even other small things like fireflies used as light source for the lamps, and if you break it they will be free and fly away. Or just the rain dropping on the windows. Ari Gibson did such a fascinating job into creating this world. A big inspiration from the game art style was Angel's Egg. A lot of backgrounds from that movie are pretty much the same with the ones we have in Hollow Knight, with shells all over the place. Like I said earlier, this game is a Metroidvania, so it means that you cannot access all areas from the start. You first need to get a few abilities, but that doesn't mean the exploration is linear. Hell no. The interconnectivity of this game is extremely well done and makes this world more believable and fun to explore. There are multiple ways to access different areas. You start the game in the Forgotten Crossroads and then you need to go to the Green Path, but then the map starts to open. The next location you need to go is Fungal Waste and there are two ways to reach it, from here or from here. And once you get the Mantis Claw, the majority of the map will be open and it will be up to you to decide where you want to go next. From the Mantis village you can go to Deepness, then to the Ancient Basement and then to the Kingdom's Edge. Or you can go to the City of Tears, then to the Royal Waterways and then to the Resting Grounds. There are so many ways and shortcuts that you can access one area. Every player has its own path and it makes the whole experience unique. You'll also find a stag station in every location, allowing you to fast travel between them. And you also need to work on the map as you progress. And for that, our friend Conifer is here. You can find this lovely guy singing in almost every location and he will sell you the map for that place. But the good part is that this map does not give you any spoilers. You'll still have to go and explore that place because this is just the demo version of that location and you'll update it as you go. Every little place or cave will be drawn here. So even when you think you completed that area, there is still a chance that you didn't find everything out there. The map is used only to see if you have been there. It will never show you where to go or where the secrets are. You can even buy different markers to mark your map to help you check it later. Maybe you find a place that you cannot reach now, so you put a marker there and when you get a new ability, you return to that location. The environment is so immersive, everything makes logic. Every area has its own ecosystem. In Green Path there are bushes, carnivores plants, moss knight and so much more. But in Deepness you'll find all sorts of spiders and centipedes that comes from the background and they look like they're flying. But if you pay close attention, you see that they walk on webs. Even the tone is quite different. In the Crystal Cave everything is so loud and moves fast because it's a mining space, and just below it is the Resting Grounds, a place extremely quiet and peaceful where you pay respect for the dead. But the thing that brings this world most to life is that the whole world changes as you progress. Characters and enemies become more infected to the point that the forgotten crossroads transform into the infected crossroads. The infection has started to spread even more than before. Roads are blocked, and even the little enemies like this fly have become gigantic and more dangerous because now they explode. It's like a different location, and all of these things make it feel like a real place. Whenever I stumble upon a new area, I jump out of joy because I'm so excited to see what I will find there, to see what this kingdom has to offer. Hallownest was the place I was most invested. I want to know the story behind every place and why is in the state it is now, how it was before the infection. To have your player constantly craving for more, it's a very big achievement. Team Cherry wanted to create a place where the player don't want to leave, and they succeeded. Even after I finished the game, I felt like a part of me is still there, wanting to go back and to see if maybe I can find something new that I didn't notice before. So we talk about the art of the game, but the thing that makes me love a game even more is the music and sound design. And I dare to say that Hollow Knight has the best soundtrack I ever hear in a video game. I listen to a lot of these soundtracks even to this day, 4 years later. It's absolutely amazing, and Christopher Larkin is the one responsible for this, and since then he has become my favorite composer ever. Every song is unique and brings so much life to the already amazing world. Every area has a different feeling thanks to the music, the hollow and quiet atmosphere of the Forgotten Crossroads, the abyss where it's most silent with only the ghosts making noise, but you can hear a deep sound that makes the whole place more mysterious and deep. The calm and relaxing feeling of the City of Tears, and the spooky and scary deepness who makes my skin crawl every time. In an interview, Christopher Larkin said that when he makes a new song, he takes into consideration the narrative and the lore of that area/boss. And speaking of boss music, there are a few ones that I like to mention. The Mantis Lords once again really goes well with the fast pace of the fight. Nosk with such a horror atmosphere who makes me poop my pants even more than I already did, but my favorite one is the Hollow Knight. It starts as an epic conclusion, the final battle, but as you fight more and more, the tone changes. The Hollow Knight starts to stab himself, and everything goes from epic to sorrow and sadness, making you really feel bad that things have turned out like this. But there are other small things that fill this game with life, like the sound of your spells, your step on the grass, the acid water, the satisfying sound when you discover a secret, or the humming of conifer that fill me with joy every time I hear it. Everything that you interact with has a sound. I want to end this section talking a bit about the voice acting. The voices are just some gibberish words, but they made it sound like they really speak a language, especially Conifer and Elderbug. Most of the voices were recorded by the developers and their friends and family. The thing I love about them is that they are so funny and so memorable. A lot of them are imprinted on my brain to this day. Elderbug who say
Akala, Tono.
Or Zod who said
Bera, Aklama Buktis.
or Izelda
Bapanada.
or even Slipe.
Patmas Gio.
And some of them are just weird. I mean, can you imagine someone recording this sound? wait, let me make this even weirder. But there are also the ones who were transformed into memes, like Hornet Get Good. She doesn't really say that, but it's still funny. So yeah, I love every aspect of the music and sound effect in this game. Okay, so I left the story of Hollow Knight at the end, because this is one of the biggest reasons why this game is so popular. This is the aspect that makes people come back to this game. Look at Mosback, he has millions of views just from the story of Hollow Knight. This shows how much people are interested and invested in the lore. Whenever a game has a mysterious world and lots of secrets to uncover, it makes the experience more thrilling and interesting to explore and find the meaning in every text and dialogue. You can finish the game without knowing even a thing, ending up constantly asking questions, and the game doesn't reveal anything directly to you. You have to connect all the dots by yourself, just like the old lady from Dark Souls 2 says.
But one day, you will stand before its decrepit gate without really knowing why.
Speaking of Dark Souls, Team Cherry never said directly that the story was inspired by Dark Souls, but there are a lot of similar ideas and characters. Both games takes place in a ruined kingdom who lost his former glory. The kings who created them tried to stop it but ended up dead, and their wife/daughter guides an unnamed warrior to save the kingdom.
A thing that feeds on souls, a hollow. Long ago, in a walled-off land far to the north, a great king built a great kingdom. I believe they called it
Hallownest.
Perhaps you're familiar.
The basic premise is there, and from here they took different paths. There are other similar things. Like Dark Souls, Hollow Knight has justification for everything. Nothing happens without a reason. Like I said before, when you die you lose all your money, a part of your soul meter, and a shade will appear in the spot you died. And you need to get it back because this is a part of you. The shade is a representation of your regrets that you left behind. Without it, you are no longer whole. But there are so many other small things, like, did you ever question why it is raining underground in the City of Tears? Well, it's because there is a giant lake just above it. The Soul Totems are some statue left behind by an ancient civilization who had a better understanding of how to manipulate the soul. When an enemy is hit, they bleed yellow blood or whatever this is, because they are infected, and the ones who are not infected, they just bleed white particles. The Hunter Journals is another cool addition. When you kill an enemy, the journal will reveal bits of information about it. Many of them are not that important to the lore, but they are still interesting to read. There are not too many games that have justification for the game mechanics and other things like that. Here, everything has a reason. Nothing is here just for the sake of it. And by paying attention to those small details, we discover more and more of the history behind this place. The characters who fill this world are also very interesting. Each one of them has a story. Elderbug is the first NPC you encounter and the only one left in Dirtmouth. All the other residents disappear after they descend into the well, chasing their dreams. And Elderbug comes to the conclusion that dreams are bad. But slowly you give his hopes back. Or Iselda and Conifer, who come here to live a quieter life and they make a living by selling maps and other things. And then they are the ones who have what we call a quest line or a story progression. Coral, just like you, was called here by something and now he has his separate adventure exploring this vast kingdom, and he starts to remember that he was from here, and once he fulfilled his duties he decided to disappear or die. So like Dark Souls again. Or take a look at the last stag, who initially is called the last stag because he thinks he's the last of his kind, but after you unlock all the station and find a broken egg that might imply that his kind is still not extinct, the name changes to the old stag. Or even this guy named Tiso, who wants to go to the Colosseum of Fools to fight for glory, but will end up dead and you can find his body in the Kingdom's Age. Every NPC in this game has something to say, and it's just amazing how the developers made me interested in the majority of them. Okay, so before we get to the conclusion, let's summarize shortly the story. Everything started in the way I just like it, with an ancient civilization long forgotten and disappeared. You can find the reminiscence of this civilization in the soul totems and giant corpses scattered all over Hallownest. But the most history about them is found in the Abyss, where they probably have their base. They knew how to manipulate souls and the void. They created the void tendrils. At some point they were defeated by probably the Radiants, but we don't know that for sure. Many years passes and other bugs started to live on that place and make their own civilization and tribes. But one day a giant worm arrived. He changed his form and he left his previous body to the kingdom's edge, and he became what we know today as the Pale King. He wanted to create a kingdom to rule over because this is what all worms want to do. He also had a wife who, like him, is a higher being which is similar to a god. He started to make this place holy, raising the intelligence of the wild bugs and convinced them to help him build the kingdom. But not all of them liked the idea. The mantises accepted, but with the condition they will keep their structures, and in exchange they were tasked to protect the kingdom from the bugs from Deepnest, who rejected the Pale King offer completely. The mushrooms from Fungal Waste accepted without any complaints, and the residents from Green Path also accepted, but they wanted to keep at least a part of their territory. The big problem was with the Moth tribe. They already worship a god named the Radiance, who lived in the Dream Realm, but eventually the Pale King convinced them to, and the Moth tribe forgot about the Radiance, who was definitely not happy about it. But with this, the king finally succeeded into creating a kingdom, and he named it Hallownest. The problem was that after many years the Radiance returned and he started to infect the bugs who lived in the kingdom, and because the infection was spreading through dreams, the king could do nothing to stop it. But he eventually stumbled upon the Abyss and the Void, and he learned how to use it and create soldiers from it. So the king decided to create a vessel to seal the Radiance, so he made a lot of childs with his queen, and they were put in the Abyss in order to become hollow and have no dreams. After many failed experiments, one of the child was chosen to be a vessel. He was sealed in the Temple of the Black Egg, and it worked for a while, but slowly the infection started to spread again, because the vessel was not purely hollow. As a last resort, the king developed a plan with the queen and created the King Soul Charm, and both of them took a half of it. And the Pale King teleports alongside his palace to the dream world, where he died. The Night Lord, the player, is one of those failed experiments who escaped from the Abyss and lost all of his memories when he left the kingdom, but something called him back here. He eventually remembered his origins, and the King Soul Charm is transformed into the Void Heart, and now he has the ability to control the Void. With the help of Hornet, the Knight is able to enter into the Vessel Dream alongside his brother and sisters. After a hard battle, the Knight kills the Radiance for good, being consumed by the darkness, stopping the infection but dying in the process. There are multiple endings, but this is considered the most canonical one. The other ones are a kind of bad ending. The first two are almost the same, where the knight takes the Hollow Knight place, but he will just prolong the inevitable. There are also the Godmos one, but those are a bit weird, so I'm not getting into them. I will only say that the shot with Hornet and the Hollow Knight preparing to fight is pretty cool. And it's awesome that you can choose what ending is more fitting for your desire. If you like one of them more and want to think that this is the canon one, nothing will stop you. You have freedom of choice, and even though you got the items you need from the other endings, the game still does not say that you need to complete that ending. You still have a choice at the end of the day. Okay, so after a long discussion, let's get to the conclusion of this video. There is far more to Hollow Knight that can be summed up in a single video. Team Cherry created one of the most complex and interesting worlds you can find in a video game. Even after the end of the journey, you'll probably don't understand a fracture of what just happened. A world extremely rich in lore and details, with meaning behind every little thing. A world where you are free to go on your own path, to explore what you want, to find how you like. Every aspect of it is engaging. You create your own story and you don't even realize when it has ended. And you just wish to be more to explore and find because you are still unsatisfied. Hollow Knight is a timeless game. The art is incredible and everything has its own persona that is unique and you'll never find anywhere else. The game fascinates me to this day. 4 years later. The way Hollow Knight handles every aspect of it makes it not only just a game, but pure art. Hollow Knight is something that you need to experience at least once in your life. It is truly a masterpiece.